Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Shofiyatul Holidiyah. I'm from TBI-A class. Today I would like to do an assignment from Mr. Wahab that explaining the materials from the first meeting until the fifth meeting. Well, for the first meeting is about introduction of psycholinguistic. Psycholinguistic is the term of psychology and linguistics. Psychology is the term come from the Greek root that's psyche. The meaning is soul or mind. And logos meaning, the mean is the word study. Psychology is the scientific study of behavior and mental process. Psychology helps us to evaluate common beliefs and misconception about behavior and mental process. Psychology seeks to describe and explain, predict, and influence behavior and mental process. Psycholinguistic is the study of language from a psychological perspective. The scope of psycholinguistic are acquisition and comprehension. The second meeting is about language and brain compound word. Psycholinguistic investigate the mental mechanism underlying language processing, how to perceive words and store them in the mind, how to understand a sentence, how to learn to read, how to language and writing system influence mental organizations. To visual word recognition, properties of the word visual or auditory, orthographic, whether a word is constructed in a legal way, phonological system, and meaning. The brain is composed of neurons, nerve cells that are the basic information processing units of the nervous system. The cerebral cortex is the cranial mass that sits over the rest of the brain and accounts for language representation and processing. The longitudinal fissures separate the left and right hemisphere of the brain. The corpus callosum is the bundle of nerve fibers that connect the two hemispheres. The third meeting is about language center. The brain is composed of neurons, nerve cells that are the basic information processing units of the nervous system. The cerebral cortex is the cranial mass that sits over the rest of the brain and accounts for language representation and processing. Language is made up of socially shared rules that include the following semantics or meaning: how to make new words, grammar, and social context. Speech is the verbal means of communicating. Speech consists of the following: articulation, voice, fluency, and prosody. There are several areas of the brain that play a critical role in speech and language. Broca's area, located in the left hemisphere. It associates with speech production and articulation. So, language is come from the left hemisphere. Wernicke's area is a critical language area in the posterior superior temporal lobe, connect to Broca's area via a neural pathway. Wernicke's area is primarily involved in the comprehension. The angular gyrus, it is located in the close proximity to other critical brain regions such as the parietal lobe, which process tactile sensation, the occipital lobe, which is involved in visual analysis, and the temporal lobe, which process sound. And the fourth meeting is about lateralization and contralateralization. Localization is the difference of human cognitive abilities and behaviors are localized in specific part of the brain. lateralization is any cognitive function that is localized primarily in one side of the brain. The medial longitudinal visors separate the human brain into two distinct cerebral hemispheres. Those are right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. Each hemisphere specializes in different cognitive functions. The first is right hemisphere. The functions are holistic reasoning, music processing, processing of non-linguistic sounds, visual and spatial processing. And the second one is left hemisphere. Left hemisphere, the function is about analytic reasoning, temporal ordering, arithmetic, and language processing. So, like I said just now, language is lateralized to the left hemisphere. Contralateralization is property of the brain such that one side of the body is controlled by the opposite hemisphere of the brain. So, right hemisphere controls by left side of the body and a visual field, and the left hemisphere controls right side of body and a visual field. And the last materials is about aphasia. Aphasia is a language disorder produced by brain damage. There are three kinds of aphasia. The first is Broca's aphasia. Broca's aphasia was found by Powell aphasia that found the damage of the front part of the left hemisphere result in a loss of speech. Broca's aphasia can cause by unable to express themselves by more than a single word at a time. The content are fine, but the function words are not. The example when someone say 20 years old, it means Broca's aphasia. And the second is Wernicke aphasia. Wernicke's aphasia was found by Carl Wernicke. Wernicke's aphasia can cause the fluent speech with not informational value and the comprehension is impaired. The place of damage of this aphasia in the temporal lobe of left hemisphere. The example, when someone asks to aphasic the oath of them, they explain about their activity on the morning. And the last is conduction aphasia. Conduction aphasia is not connection between Broca's area and Wernicke's area. This can cause be able to understand and product speech but cannot repeat what they have just read. Okay, I think that's all from me. If I have many mistakes, pardon me please. And the last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.